as someone who is sensitive to energy, perhaps someone who is an empath and feels the feelings of others in real time, how can you tell for sure that other people's energy is in your space? How can you tell if it's yours or not yours? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Some of the undeniable signs that other people's energy is in your space, as well as, some tips to get started to be able to clear other people's energy from your space when it's not beneficial. My name is Christine from Kyanite Psychic Services, and I love to help sensitive and creative souls build confidence and trust in their spiritual gifts and abilities and to feel empowered on their path in this life. You can find out more about me on my website, which is kyanitepsychic.com. Before I talk about, the indicators that other people's energy might be in your field, I feel guided to say that, we are ultimately here as humans to learn and grow through relationship. Yes, the relationship with ourselves, for sure, but also relationships that we have with other people, relationships that we have with place, right? Um, if you are completely walled off from the world, first of all, that's really hard to do in today's day and age. But if you have got, extreme energetic protections all the time, like big walls up, right? If you're, being a hermit, yeah, that could serve you for a season. It could be beneficial for a season, but it's ultimately not beneficial for, the entirety of your existence here, right? Because part of Earth School is interacting with other conscious beings, mutual healing, learning, and growth. So for those of us that are energy sensitive, that are empaths, right? Part of our learning and growth is, the discernment of when other people's energy is in our field, what's ours, what's not ours, and that journey of empowerment, being able to recognize and release what we no longer want in our space, right? But again, it's really important to acknowledge that we're in constant exchange of energy. I talk about this in another way in the video that I made on energetic cords. I'll link that in the description, right? And one of the points that I made there is that we cord into each other all the time, right? But in healthy relationships, once we're done with an exchange, those cords dissolve, right? It's when they remain, when they're, past their due date, that it becomes non-beneficial and restrictive and etc., right? Okay, so that being said, what are some of the indicators that other people's energy is in your space? How can you absolutely tell? One, first one, someone's name pops into your head. How many of you have had the experience of like doing the dishes or some random chore or whatever, like getting in the car, and then all of a sudden it pops into your head, oh, I got to call so and so. Oh, I wonder how so and so is doing, right? Um, that's literally, a little energetic ping from them. Their energy, part of their consciousness, got into your field as a hello, like, hello, I'm reaching out to you. Technically, you could say too that that's a form of telepathic communication on the part of the other person, whether they're consciously or unconsciously doing it. But yeah, names or prompts, thinking of another person, that is a bit of their energy in your field. Again, this is not, non-beneficial at the onset, right? Um, it can become non-beneficial if you have a hard time, not thinking of someone, right? If it intrudes on your daily life, your autonomy, your sovereignty. But it can also be beneficial that someone's communicating with you and then, oh, I want to reach out and exchange with them as well. So, there's a whole spectrum of, effect here. But that's the one way to tell, right? The biggest way to tell. The second way to tell if someone's energy is in your space is related to the first. If you are having a conversation with someone in your head. So, funny story about this, I've experienced this a lot. A lot. I've been a teacher for a long time, not only, metaphysical topics, but I've been a music teacher for a really long time, students of all ages. And I really had some clear examples of this, particularly when I taught middle and high school students, especially high school students. Um, Something that would happen to me, this is before I was aware of energy tools or aware of, what an empath was or any of that. Something that would happen is I would be done with class, I'd be home, chilling out on the couch. And then all of a sudden, in my mind, I start explaining like a musical topic to one of my students. Like I'm teaching them in my mind. Like, here's how you count this rhythm. Happened to me a lot. Or, recommending a piece of music to someone. It was the gamut of questions. I would be answering them in my mind. And it would go on for quite a while before I realized, oh, what's going on? Why am I talking to this person in my head? So literally, that was my student's energy in my space. And I was interacting with it right at that psychic level, telepathic level. My students didn't have bad intentions in reaching out to me in that way at all, right? And, it was just a learned part of being a sensitive person. But what was really interesting is that as I started to learn energy tools, some of the ones that I teach, on this channel and in my classes, over time, as I separated from everyone's energy, I wasn't answering any student questions after class, right? Boundaries were much more firm. And ultimately, I think that's beneficial for everyone, right? I've also experienced this early on in my practice of, being a reader and a healer. And those of you out there that do this work or interested in it, perhaps you've experienced this too, where, after a session with a client, you might be explaining a concept to them, or, oh, there's something else that I wanted to say. Oh, here's something else to communicate, right? That means that you're still energetically connected after that session has ended. Ultimately, that's not beneficial, right? So it's really important to become aware of that and start to use energy tools to separate from each other. And then even just on a social level, right? If you're, working through a problem with someone, if you're having a conversation with someone in your mind, you know, that's an exchange of energy. Their energy is in your space. And, it's up to you to choose, do I want to continue to engage at this level, or is it time to separate and we can just have our conversations in real time at a designated time, right? So that's a really big one to be aware of, again, especially for those of us that are empathic. The third way that you can tell if other people's energy is in your space has to do with your clairvoyance or clear seeing, when you see in your mind's eye. This is an experience I've had often, and I know clients and students and friends that I've talked with have also had this experience, seeing faces. Let me explain. If you are sitting down to meditate, or even like if you're sitting down to take a nap, close your eyes and you're getting centered in the body, and you start to see in your mind's eye, faces, or even sometimes, someone's name, like the word, their name, literally, that is an indicator that their energy is in your space. You might know what face it is or whose face it is or not. Doesn't matter. That's energy that's not you. I would say in this circumstance, ASAP, work with fundamental energy tools to clear it out, to get it out. And if that ever feels challenging to you, right, especially if you're just getting started, call on your highest guides, call on source energy, because you're sovereign and you get to say who's in your space. This can sometimes be, other people, living people that are trying to get your attention. And because your clairvoyance is very developed, that's one way that it's going to manifest, right? For you in your awareness. This can also be the energy of other people who have passed on, right? And it somehow made its way into your space, whether it's, someone that's trying to reach out to you, or even the energy of people that have passed on that's just kind of passing through the neighborhood, right? I know I've had that experience before. Either way, especially if you are in meditation, right? If you're wanting to get centered and go inward, that's your time for you, right? So declare your space as sovereign. Use some of the tools we're going to talk about in this video, in other videos that I have. Call upon your highest guides, call upon source, and just clear it out of your space, right? And then the last indicator that other people's energy is in your space is at the feeling or clairsentient level. When I say clairsentience, that means psychic feeling, right? If you all of a sudden start feeling some kind of emotion or even a physical feeling that has no basis in what you're doing, what you're working on, what your circumstances are, that's other people's energy in your space, right? An example, if you're, outside gardening and you're just having a great time, enjoying nature, and all of a sudden you feel this pang of anxiety hit you for no reason, that is 1,000% not your energy. That is someone's energy close by in physical proximity. It could be someone that you know that's communicating, hey, I have anxiety. Can you help me with this unconsciously, right? It's not your energy. And when that happens, it's really important, first of all, to just name, hey, this is not me, to name that to yourself. And then just to get quiet and start to work with some tools to clear all of that out. Just to share at the feeling level, with clairsentience, sometimes it can take a little while for energetic tools to move the physical sensation out of your body. What I mean by that is if you're feeling like physical symptoms of anxiety, like anxious, your gut's kind of twisty or something like that. When you're working with energy tools, it might take a little while for the physical feeling to dissipate. And that's because, right, we're moving through fields of density. The earth plane, physical plane, right, is a lot more dense than any energetic planes, any non-physical planes. So just give those tools a while to work, but they do work. Just keep at it, okay? So that being said, one of the best tools to clear other people's energy from your space is what I was taught as a separation rose. And I have a whole video on that. I'm going to link it below and probably in a little card up here. So do check that out if you haven't already. And really, it's just a container that you can set the intention for whatever energy it is to go from you into the container. You push it out of your energetic field and just let it dissipate, let it disintegrate, right? As with any energetic tool or practice, the more that you use it, the stronger and more effective it becomes. The more that you believe in your sovereignty and ability to move energy, the more effective it becomes. So, my advice is to just start using the tool, right? Play with it and notice how, your experience shifts. Notice how, with each day, you're more and more in charge of what's in your space and what you allow in your space, right? And then also, incorporating other fundamental tools like grounding yourself daily, using, basic energetic protections daily as a starting point. So what I wanted to share is that I have a 4-day event coming up in September. And if you're watching this video after September 2024, I'll have all of these videos up on demand, so you can still click the link and access it. But this 4-day event is called Aware and Empowered. And for about an hour and change each day, we're going to be using and going through learning fundamental energy tools that you can incorporate into your practice and really use throughout your everyday life. So not just in a spiritual space or not just in like morning meditation, but you can use these tools all the time, every day. And these are tools that I use every day. And as someone who's sensitive, and who was constantly managing other people's energy and their space, these tools really changed my life. So I hope that they're as impactful to you. I'll put a link in the description below for you to register if it resonates and just to find out more information. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.